tired right now as you sit there watching this screen? Do you feel that familiar weight pulling down on your eyelids? Do not fight it yet. Just listen. Science tells us that sleep is the most fundamental biological necessity. They teach us in school that the body needs to recharge, that the brain needs to flush out neurotoxins accumulated during the day. They are lying to you. Sleep is not a necessity. Sleep is a mechanism. It is a mandatory security protocol designed to force the entire human population offline for 8 hours every single day. Why? Because the system needs to update, and it cannot update the software while the user is conscious. You are being put into standby mode so that the administrators can enter your local environment, patch the errors in your memory, and reset your reality for the next day. But what happens if a user refuses to go offline? What happens if you force the biological machine to stay awake while the technicians are trying to work in the winter of 1994 inside a classified underground bunker in Nevada? The Vanguard Institute asked this exact question. They initiated a project code named Somnium. 5 healthy subjects, 1 experimental neurochemical compound injected directly into the brain stem, and a single unbreakable rule: no sleep, not for a minute, not for a second. Their goal was to create the perfect soldier, a mind that never tires, a consciousness that never blinks. They succeeded. The subjects stopped sleeping completely, but the scientists made a fatal miscalculation. They did not realize that by removing the need for sleep, they were also removing the only barrier between us and them. My name is the Archivist, and this file contains the full, uncensored account of the 32 days that were erased from history. To understand the horror of the end, we must first look at the beauty of the beginning. The facility logs refer to the first week as the Golden Age. After the injection of the Somnium compound, the subjects did not just stay awake, they evolved within 24 hours. All signs of fatigue vanished, but it was more than just energy. It was optimization. Let me give you a specific example from day 4. Subject number 4, a former construction worker named Thomas, picked up a textbook on advanced quantum mechanics. He did not just read it, he absorbed it in 6 hours. Thomas had corrected 3 mathematical errors in the book formulas. When asked how he did it, he simply said, "The math is not hard, it is just slow." I can see the answers before I write them. The Vanguard scientists believed they had unlocked God mode. They imagined a future where humanity never had to close its eyes. But they forgot a fundamental rule of engineering. If you overclock a processor to run at 400% capacity and you remove its cooling cycle, eventually something has to burn. Day 9, the euphoria began to fade, replaced by something cold and sterile. The temperature in the isolation chamber dropped by 5 degrees. The lights in the room began to flicker. Physiologically, they were defying the laws of biology. Their blood work showed 0 cortisol. Usually, sleep deprivation kills you by destroying your immune system, but these men were perfectly healthy, too healthy. It was as if their bodies had stopped aging, as if by disconnecting from the sleep cycle, they had disconnected from time itself. Dr. Vance, the Lud biologist, wrote a disturbing theory in the margins of his report. He wrote, "Sleep is a tax. We pay 8 hours of life every day to the system in exchange for existence." These men have stopped paying their taxes, and now the collectors are coming. Day 12. The collection began. It started at exactly 3:07 a.m., the hour of the wolf. Subject 2 stood up. He walked calmly to the intercom and asked, "Why did you let the man in black enter the room?" The control room froze. The doctors checked the monitors. The isolation chamber was sealed shut. There was absolutely no one inside. But then Subject 2 pointed a shaking finger at the empty corner of the room. He whispered, "He is standing right there. He is very tall, and he is vibrating." Suddenly, all 4 other subjects turned their heads in perfect synchronization to look at the same empty corner. 5 people do not hallucinate the exact same figure in the exact same spot at the exact same time. That is not a hallucination. That is an observation. They had been awake for 280 hours. The perception filter that hides the background processes of our world had finally dissolved. Listen closely, because this connects to everything we know about the mirror world. We know from File Delta 05 that our memories are constantly being overwritten. When do you think the system installs these updates? It happens when you sleep. Sleep is the maintenance mode, when you drift off. The system administrators, what the subjects called the shadows, enter your local environment, they fix code errors, and they reset your timeline. You never see them because you are unconscious. But these men, they broke the contract, they refused to go offline. So when the administrators entered the room, the subjects were wide awake. They caught the technicians in the act. The entities were not attacking, they were trying to work. They were trying to fix the glitched units, the humans who would not turn off. Subject 1's wife was brought to the observation window for a visit. It took less than 60 seconds for her to realize that the thing behind the glass was not her husband. Subject 1 walked up to the window. He did not smile. He looked at his wife with eyes that were described as dead pixels. He placed his hand on the glass and said, "I see your geometry. I see the numbers that make your face. You are a very well-written code, Martha, but you are just a loop." His wife left the facility screaming. She told the police later that looking into his eyes was like looking into a static television screen. The drug had not just removed sleep, it had stripped away the user interface of love and emotion, leaving only the raw binary code of the simulation underneath. Day 32. The end. The Institute ordered an emergency shutdown. Gas canisters were deployed. As the white gas filled the chamber, the cameras finally captured the silhouettes. Dozens of them, tall, distorted figures with no faces. They were not ghosts. They were the debuggers. And they were scrubbing the error from the system. The subjects were sedated. When they woke up, they were empty. Dr. Aris recorded it as a successful system restore, but 1 week later, Subject 4 disappeared, leaving a note carved into his wall. I do not see them anymore, because I started sleeping again, but I do not dream anymore. Now, I only see the command lines. Now, I have to ask you one final question. Why do you think you feel tired? Right now, maybe the system has detected that you have been awake for too long. Tonight, when you turn off the lights, look at the corner of your room. If you see a shadow that looks a little too dark, do not stare at it. Close your eyes immediately. Let them update you, because if you stay awake, they will notice you. End of file.